Every good rhyme starts with once upon a time. Long ago, far away, centuries before our day. Humans lived, monsters roamed, both shared earth and sky as home. Yet this peace came undone. War was waged and humans won. Forced below, monsters fell.
Welcome to the Literary Lessons Podcast, Book to Screen, Once Upon a Time episode, exploring children's classics whilst losing our innocence along the way.
Be careful in the dark. Some might take it, break it apart. Trouble on the left, trouble on the right. Will you spare them, run or fight? Oops, chopped your heart. Be careful in the dark. Some might take it, break it apart. Trouble on the left, trouble on the right. Will you spare them, run or fight, or fight, or fight, or fight, or
Hello, welcome to Literary License Podcast, and it's June, where we're discussing the book to screen, which this month is Something Wicked This Way Comes by Bradbury and the Disney film of the same name. And before we get started, let's find out who's with us. We got Leandro Gazzi with us. Hello, Leandro.
Hi, how are you?
And I mispronounced Leandro's surname again. Yay!
How did you? Why? Have we
It's
been
Gussie.
mispronouncing?
Gussie?
Gussie?
Gussie.
Guess it.
It's Gussie.
Doesn't he?
Wait. Gussie? Gussie?
Yes. Yeah, like they say the first time.
Gussie.
No, with D.
Guessy.
Like guess it without the T.
Okay. I didn't know we were butchering your name this whole time. I feel totally bad now.
Well,
I
Leandro,
never said anything.
I'm blaming it on my accent. I can barely speak English. How dare you throw your Argentinian name at me?
But the last name is Italian, so
Well, it sounds Italian.
yeah, it is.
So are you Italian?
Yes.
Oh my God, I thought so. Wasn't going to say anything because I was confused by the Argentinians. So I was just like, is he Italian? Is he Argentinian? Or is he both? I was going nuts. Now that I know, the mystery is solved. No wonder you're so cute.
And we have Vicky right with us. Hello, Vicky.
Hi, everybody.
And I'm your host, Keith Shogum. Before we get started, let's find out what we've been up to. Starting with you, Leandro. What have you been up to since last time we spoke to you?
Well, I want to take the opportunity to dedicate this podcast to a friend. His name is John. He passed away, but anyway, it's for him. I went to, well, with his friends and his mom, we went to Wales for his birthday. We walked. We went to a few places he used to go because he used to like hiking. Then I have a stag do party. We went to watch a cricket match in Birmingham. That was really cool. And then that was the weekend that passed. No, the one before. And then I went to Denmark for a week.
You did?
Yeah, to visit a
How
friend.
was that place? I've always wanted to go to Denmark. How
Yeah,
was that?
it was really, really cool. We did a lot of walk. We walked 20 kilometers 2 days, 30 kilometers the following day. Trust me, I was
Wow,
going.
that makes you my new spirit animal. Holy shit.
Well, my friend I went to visit, he said like the best way to know a place is walking it, but 30 kilometers was too much.
A lot of walking.
I went to the sea. It was the first day was really windy. It was cold, but I was more scared about the waves because it was really, really windy. And then the second time was not windy. It was a really sunny day.
What body of water were you by? What sea was that?
Baltic Sea,
Baltic. Okay.
and it's cold, but yeah. But the first day, which was really cold, it was raining. I found it not so cold, but it was really like wavy and you know when it's dangerous, and I didn't want to stay long.
Right.
The second time was I found it more cold, the water, but it was really like flat. Yeah, so I have a really good time. I have been working, planting things in the allotment. Well, not much. Going to the gym, the usual stuff.
Just going to Denmark and living your best life. Okay.
No, that was really cool. Yeah.
And what about yourself,
Cool.
Vix? What have you been up to?
Not a whole lot. It's been kind of can't do too much when it's been raining for 2 weeks straight, but the sun is out today. Not doing a whole lot. I'm just trying to get our stuff caught up outside. Our house can't get any yard work or any of our stuff done that we normally do because it's been raining for so much. But I've been watching my free code stuff still. What did I watch the other day? Go Bird of Paradise. Oh my God, free code Bird of Paradise. I didn't know you could do full frontal back in 1930, but it was a thing. I can't stop watching free code. I just never knew these existed until Joe. Honestly, I did not know. And it has been the most fun I've had watching movies. I love free code Hollywood because I didn't know about it. And it's so freaky. And the stories are freaky. The directors are freaky. And who'd have thought Cecil B. DeMille was a pervert? I mean, I would have never thought.
Well, he's not a pervert. He's pre-code. He's a prevert.
He's a prevert.
He's a prevert.
I finished watching. I watched all of House of Dragon first season because I'm anticipating my second season of House of the Dragon. I don't think that guy's ever going to finish his book series, so I guess this is what we got. So, and then I watched The Boys. The Boys are coming back. Keith texted me, and I've been waiting for The Boys. There's no way I'm going to miss that. I'm wondering if they're going to let us watch one episode or all of them. It's so hard not to binge watch that. And then when it's over, I'm just so depressed for the whole year because I know it's not coming back for a year and I shouldn't binge watch it. But I have not had a Carl Urban fix and I don't know how long. I've been watching Xena Warrior Princess just so I can watch early Carl, you know. And then it's what was it? Else I watched. Yeah, actually, that's pretty much it. Other than that's pretty much it. We've been outside the last few days trying to catch up. What about you? I know you got your car.
Yeah, I got my car. Took Boo for some ice cream on the day.
I saw that. Boo looked like I see you got Boo his basket and his safety harness.
Yeah, Boo's got his harness and his car seat. Kim gave me Micah's old car seat because she had to get a bigger one because Micah's getting longer.
Right, you guys are making me feel bad. I just throw all my dogs in the car. I don't hook them up with shit. We just fucking gun it, you know.
Well, the thing is, I stopped to get ice cream, and he doesn't like sitting in the back seat, so I had to take the cat's his car seat and move it to the front because he likes.
I was going to say, Boo doesn't take the back seat to anybody.
So I told Ferris that basically when he rides, he'll have to sit in the back seat while Boo's in the front seat.
That'll be funny, actually. I'd pay to see pictures of that. Put Ferris in the back seat. So the cast, shotgun.
But he did okay. I mean, I think he freaked out a little bit, like halfway through the journey there.
Has he been in a car riding before?
Not for a long time. Normally when he goes in the car though, is normally like to the vet or and then of course he's got PTSD still from
I forgot. Yeah.
the journey here. So he has postpartum depression when I go out of the room sometimes. He's like, I'll leave the room and talk to Kim, and he'll like, and as soon as he come back in, he like tells me up, like, where were you? It's like I was only in the next room, sort of thing. But no, he's doing fine, and he's got.
It's really bad when your animals have like separation anxiety. I can't leave my house. Like it's bad.
It's pretty sad. So, but other than that, I watched a good film on Shudder called Stop Motion, so that was quite good.
Have you finished the book that you were writing?
Which one on Shudder?
I'm still writing it. Stop Motion.
Oh, I was gonna watch that. That looks really good.
It's an IFC film, and I mean those IFC films are. I mean, up with A24. They're like artistic horror films, aren't they? So, but I want to go see that other film that.
Well, A24 doesn't just do horror films. A lot of their stuff is really dramatic. Well, Civil War. I haven't seen it yet.
I didn't realize it was written by an Englishman. And
what was that you froze? What was that?
Civil War is written by Alex Garland, who wrote Ex Machina, The Beach, and 28 Days Later. So
yeah, I saw that.
So
I haven't seen it yet. It's not.
I saw the trailer the other day, and I was like, God, this might be quite interesting, actually.
Yeah, everybody told me it was just disappointing. It was. I think they were expecting like what you think I'm thinking. and it was really all about Kirsten Dunst. And they said, I think it, you know, I
Well,
mean,
I like it.
it's not the Civil War movie where people thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Well, I was watching this documentary about Texas breaking away and becoming its own country. And apparently Florida wants to as
Don't
well.
get me excited.
But if they want to do that, what they're gonna have to do is they're gonna have to get Louisiana on board so that way that they're bridged together.
Oklahoma, New Mexico.
So
Right now, a lot of people are on board. If things go sideways in November, you never know.
the Civil War movie could be movie fact. But without
I don't think California is going to be on the side of Texas. Then you never know, though. People in California are really sick of their shit, so they might uprise. You never know. They might.
you never know. It might get rid of most of the Californians here. But but I mean I mean I haven't seen it, but it looks interesting.
It's
then,
on stream. It's streaming now. I don't know which.
Yeah.
You know what? Wait, it just started streaming. Don't buy it yet because it'll be on Peacock or wait.
Well, that's what I do.
It'll be Max
because
it'll be Max, I think, because they're doing all the A24 films right now. So it'll be on Max.
Yeah, I'm not gonna buy it. Same thing with the other film that Joe and Sean are talking about. You know, the slapstick film that's told from the perspective of the killer.
Which movie's that?
I can't remember.
I thought I heard them talking about. I thought Joseph mentioned something about it last week, but I can't remember the title.
They're all going on about it. It's supposed to be excellent.
Is it at the theater?
Yeah, it's just come out at the theater. It was a killer perspective film. In a Violent Nature, it's called.
Oh, I haven't even heard of it.
Yeah, it's done. It's like a Friday the 13th film, but done from Jason's point of view.
Oh no shit.
But it's not Jason. It's another one, but it's like that. And it's getting.
We should meet McKinney this weekend and go watch it.
Yeah, I really wanted to see that, but that's going to be on like Shudder in 2 months.
I don't want to wait 2 months.
Yeah.
Have you seen a movie called Feather?
I'm not probably going to see that. If it goes at AMC, I get to go see it for 99 cents. So
what is
if
that?
It plays at AMC, I can go see it for 99 cents. In a Violent Nature. So, but
there's an AMC McKinney.
Yeah, I don't know if it's playing. I mean, it might be too independent for that. You know what I mean? Because you know how like independent they tend to show.
Well, actually, these movies are like they're $3. They're just cheap to go there. They're just they used to be. I don't know now, but I'll ring you tomorrow.
Yeah, but I've been watching. I graduated from Beverly Hills 90210, which I have to say those people are fucking annoying by the end of it.
By the end of the series, yeah, you're ready to either cut their throat or yours. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to bitch slap Jason Priestley, and I kind of wanted to bitch slap Donna and all of them.
Absolutely, Donna.
Now I've graduated into Melrose Place, so now I'm watching that, which that is quite fun, actually.
Melrose Place. I haven't seen Melrose Place in decades. God.
Well, I'm watching it now. I mean, there's a lot of people that went on, like Marcia Cross went on to Desperate Housewives. Doug, the gay one, went on to Desperate Housewives as Lucy Hoffman's husband. But Kristen Davis has just popped up from Sex and the City.
Really?
And she's in it. It's like, oh, so that's quite fun.
That's weird when you find these old things and people pop up in them you don't expect to see. And that's where they got their start, kind of, sort of. Yeah.
And then we're putting together our season 8 because that will start in a couple months already.
Crazy. I can't believe we've been doing this 7 years, 8 years.
8 years. It'll be 8
I
years.
can't believe we've been doing this that long.
So,
and still haven't run out of content.
And I've been invited to be interviewed as part of this year 2025's book of Who's Who in America.
Really? Who suggested you?
I don't know. They contacted me and said they want to interview me. They want to put me in the 2025 book of who's in America.
Well, I think that's outstanding.
Of most influential people in America. And they said they wanted to do it for years, but now that I'm back, like, okay. Now I just have to find a job.
So you can be influential?
So I can be influential. Who's who in America? Keisha, who's on welfare? So, but I mean, that's an honor. I was quite shocked at that, but I mean, I don't know what they know about me. You know,
Someone must have suggested you that knows you well.
that's just hope, you know,
Well, I think you got to be. Someone had to turn you on to them. So.
yeah, until they get that research when they hit Ginger Nut of Horror.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. That's the sad part about the internet. It never really goes away. I was there for that, though. I can testify to your innocence completely on that. So I was there.
And talking about wicked, this brings us to something wicked this way comes, which is a 1962 dark fantasy novel by Ray Bradbury and the second book in his Greentown trilogy. It is about two 13-year-old best friends, Jim Nightshade and William Holloway, and their nightmarish experience with a traveling carnival that comes to their Midwestern town, Greentown, Illinois, on October 24th. In dealing with the creepy figures of this carnival, the boys learn how to combat fear. The carnival's leader is mysterious Mr. Dark, who seemingly wields the power to grant the townspeople secret desires. In reality, Dark is a malevolent being who, like the carnival, lives up the life force of those it enslaves. Mr. Dark's presence is countered by that of Will's father, Charles Holloway, the janitor of the town library, who harbors his own secret fear of growing older because he feels he is too old to be Will's dad. The novel combines elements of fantasy and horror, analyzing the conflict in natures of good and evil that exists within all individuals. Unlike many of Bradbury's other novel-length works, such as Dandelion Wine and The Martian Chronicles, which are fix-ups, Something Wicked This Way Comes is a single full-length narrative. The title is taken by the prickling of the thumb, Something Wicked This Way Comes, a line shed by the witches in Shakespeare's Macbeth. What we're going to do is cut to the synopsis of Something Wicked This Way Comes and be right back. This is the plot synopsis for Something Wicked This Way Comes by Rad Bradbury. The novel opens on an overcast October 23rd. Two friends, William Will Hathaway and Jim Nightshade, both on the verge of their 14th birthdays, encounter a strange lightning rod salesman, Tom Fury. He announces that a storm is coming their way. The salesman gives Jim a lightning rod because he tells the boys that one of their houses is in danger. Throughout the night, Will and Jim meet up with townsfolk who also sense something in the air. Among the townspeople is Will's 54-year-old father, Charles Holloway, who works in the local library. Both Mr. Holloway and the boys learn about the carnival that is to start the next day. Jim and Will are excited that a carnival has come so late in the year, but Charles has a bad feeling about it. The boys run out to watch the carnival arrive at 3 in the morning. As the train pulls in, the smoke billows in circles and solidifies as the carnival. The boys go to the next day to explore the carnival and encounter their 7th grade teacher, Miss Foley, who is dazed after visiting the Mirror Maze. Jim insists on coming back that night and Will agrees, but when they bump into the lightning rod salesman's abandoned bag, they realize that they must stay to learn what happened after dark. After investigating all the rides, they go up to the carousel, which has an out-of-order sign. Mr. Cougar suddenly grabs Will and Jim after they climb up on the horses and he informs them that the merry-go-round is broken. Mr. Dark arrives and tells them to put them down. He pays attention only to Jim, who is enthralled by what he sees. The boys run away and then hide and wait. Both witness Mr. Codger riding backwards on the carousel as the music plays backwards, and when he steps off, to their shock, he is a 12-year-old boy. They follow young Mr. Cougar to Miss Foley's house, where he pretends to be the nephew she was expecting. Jim tries to talk with him because he wants to ride the carousel, but Will stops him. Jim takes off in the direction of the carnival. When Will catches up, Mr. Codger is riding the carousel growing older, and Jim is about to join him. Will knocks the switch on the carousel and it flies out of control, spinning rapidly forward. Mr. Codger ages over 100 years before it stops, and Jim and Will take off. They return with the police, but Mr. Codger is nowhere to be found. Inside the tents, they find all set up as new act, Mr. Electronico, a man they run electricity through. Mr. Dark tells the boys to come back to the carnival the next day. Will tries to keep his father out of the situation, promising that he will tell him all of it soon. That night, the dust witch floats by in her balloon to find Jim and Will. She marks Jim's roof with shiny slime, which the boys then remove with a hose. Will lures her to an abandoned house and destroys her balloon with a bow and arrow. They later both dream of a bizarre funeral for the balloon, featuring a giant mishap coffin. The next day, the boys find a girl crying under a tree and realize she is the former Miss Foley, made young again, but is also totally blind. They leave the girl where she is, check in Miss Foley's house to confirm the theory, but when they return for her, they cut off by the parade. The carnival is out searching the streets for the two boys and is now taking young Miss Foley with them. The boys hide, and Will's father spots them hiding under a storm drain in front of the cigar store. The boys convince him to keep quiet. Mr. Dark later arrives to talk to him. Mr. Holloway pretends not to know the two boys, whose faces are tattooed on the man's hand, but when the witch comes and begins to sense the boy's presence, he blows cigar smoke at her, choking her and forcing her to leave. Mr. Dark then asks Charles Holloway for his name, and Will's father tells him he is the town library's janitor. That night, Will and Jim meet him at the library where he has done research into his own father's minstrel notes. The carnival arrives once a generation and leaves in the midst of a giant storm. Mr. Dark appears, and the boys hide in the book stacks. He discovers both of them and crushes the janitor's hand when Mr. Holloway attempts to fight him. The tarot witch casts spells on the boys to mesmerize them, and also tries to stop Mr. Holloway's heart. Just before he's about to die, Charles looks at the witch and begins to laugh hysterically. His laughter wounds her deeply and drives her away. He then follows Mr. Dark to the carnival to rescue the boys. At the carnival, Charles triumphs over Mr. Dark, finds his son in the mirror maze, kills the witch with a smile on a bullet, and destroys all the mirrors by using laughter and cheer. Then he and Will search for Jim. Mr. Codger turns to dust and blows away before he can be saved by the carousel. Jim runs to the merry-go-round and rides it forward. Will tries to stop him and grabs onto his leg. They both end up going for a ride before Jim jumps off and rips Jim away from the machine. Jim falls into a stupor close to death. A child comes begging them to help him, but Mr. Holloway recognizes the boy as Mr. Dark. He holds the boy tight and kills him with affection because Mr. Dark cannot survive in such close contact with someone so happy. The carnival falls apart and Will tries to revive Jim. They save Jim by singing and dancing and laughing, their happiness bringing him back from the edge of death. And that is the plot synopsis for Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. And back to the show. Welcome back to Literature License Podcast. We're discussing Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. So, Leandro, what are your thoughts on the book Something Wicked This Way Comes?
Well, I wanted to read Ray Bradbury books for a while or watch a movie because when I think I was like around 20 years old, there was a magazine that used to come with the newspaper and they made an interview about a movie that he had done at that time. Can't remember. I like the story. I don't like, this is personal, I don't like the poetic way that he have to describe things.
Oh my God. His prose. I thought it was just me. His prose. I love metaphors like everybody else. But when you're trying to get through a story, he has way too many. Is there such a thing as too many metaphors?
Yes. Like too long.
Brilliant writer.
Yeah,
Ooh,
too long to say something. So it's like, well, come on, just say it.
it was
What I
rough.
like,
It was
what
hard.
I like is like the chapters are short, so it's
Yeah.
really easy to read. And for example, I started to read when I was going to Denmark, so I was reading while I was in the plane, and then I could put it away. And that's the good thing when you have short chapters because you can read one, then stop, one and stop. I like the story. I like the idea of how when the carousel was turning one direction, there's like the time was going forward, and then when it was going to the
And
other.
it comes at 3 a.m. It's
Yeah,
always at 3 a.m.
yeah. Or that thing about the maze that he was seeing that when someone was entering, it's like someone was coming out because it was like that was really like really well explained, and I enjoyed the story. I think it's for someone that like things written in a poetic way, the person will really enjoy this book. Not my case, but I like it.
It was kind of it's kind of weird. It wasn't like iambic pentameter, but it might as well have been. I mean, he's a brilliant writer. I don't think a lot of people know too much about his works other than Fahrenheit 4, was it 451? And didn't he write another book that I guess they turned that into a movie? What is it? What is that other book? I can't
Isn't he
remember
also,
now. It's going to
isn't he
drive me
also
Uh,
known
crazy.
for
I don't know.
Star Trek?
No, that's you're thinking of what's his face. No, he made something up. But I mean, his. I mean, it's not that he's not a brilliant writer. I mean, Ray Bradbury celebrated the world; he's renowned. But I mean, golly, man, it's too. I hate to say he's too descriptive, but it's hard to get through that book. I mean, this is a coming of age book about 13, 14-year-olds. And it just doesn't reflect that when you're struggling to get through the story because the prose is so complicated. And it's not that I hated it, but I mean, it was really like I wasn't expecting that. And I mean, I read Fahrenheit 451 back in the day. It was required reading. And I don't think he writes all of his books like this because this is a totally different style than other novels or novellas that he's written.
Well, I mean, this is part of a trilogy.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Because I read Dandelion Wine
See, I didn't read Dandelion
4,
Wine.
which is about his life in 1920s.
Yeah.
So when I read that a couple of years ago, 3 or 4 years ago,
Maybe puts it more perspective.
I know that, I know that this, and I know that this one's kind of written in the same way. And then there's the third part of it, which I haven't read, which
Right.
which
What
is
was the second? Is it a continuation or is it a different story with the same?
it all takes place in the same town, but the first and last book in this trilogy is about his childhood and then the end of his childhood, like the end of his innocence.
Oh. Did this seem like 1962 in the book to you? Or did it seem like it was a little more dated?
Well, it's 1920s.
Okay. I'm thinking, why am I thinking 1962?
And because because it's set in the 20s, that's why I kind of like when it came to the prose side of it, I kind of accepted it more because I figured, well, this is probably I don't know a lot of 1920s authors. So I thought
Yeah, I
maybe
thought
that
it was
was
set in a
based in-
different era. That's what I mean.
Well, I know that we read, I mean, there's a couple books that we have read that were set in the 20s. And another book that was full of metaphors is The Circus of Dr. Lau that we did. And that was written in the 20s. And then in the 30s, there's a little bit of prose, like when we did The Bad Seed and things like that. So I just assumed that he was writing because they're set in the 20s, he was writing like a 1920s author, maybe, where his science
His
fiction,
prose is totally different.
but like his science fiction stuff is set in the future. So he writes more modern for science fiction, like The Martian Chronicles and
Well,
Fahrenheit.
in this book here says darkly poetic. Probably Bradbury Bett's work. Stephen King wrote that. So I imagine that maybe in the time he wrote it, yes, it's poetic in a dark way.
No, it's supposed to take place during the 50s. I knew I wasn't losing my mind.
Oh, I got 1920s here in the description.
Well, at first I thought it was the 60s, so we're both wrong. It was actually set in the 50s. That makes me crazy. See, now none of us even know what date it's. Well, that's what I'm saying because it seems more dated the way it's presented the story. It's easy to think 1920s, what I'm saying. It's just the way he wrote this. And if you read any of his other stuff, this is the only book where he's written with this kind of prose. It's weird. I don't know. It's just weird. He's not my favorite. I mean, I'm not a huge sci-fi person, but I mean, he does. This was written differently. It's not a bad book at all. It's a great book. It's coming of age. It's got adventure. It's got good versus evil. You got the father against the devilish. Was it? I'm always going to have Mick Fleetwood fixed in my mind, thinking of Mr. Dark. It's always going to be Mick Fleetwood, but
I mean, it does. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that people have stolen from this book, though. I mean, Stephen King's stolen so much.
Stephen King, big time. I mean,
There's a lot
I
of
mean,
needful things. It's
yeah,
like,
needful things, big time. Even straight. I mean, well, actually, if you want to look at it this way, this book laid the groundwork for maybe even things like Stranger Things, coming. I mean, because look at it really opened the door for a lot of sci-fi horror kind of stuff.
well, even the one where we did,
See, Stephen King was
even
totally.
even the anthology movie we did last week or 2 weeks ago, From Beyond the Grave, about the shop owner. You buy something and then this dark,
Yeah.
thing happens. So that's actually, that must come
What
from.
other one? Needful Things, and there was another one that it reminded me of. But oh yeah, Stand by Me, and another one. I mean, Stephen King was really big time. I mean, influenced by Ray Bradbury, so much so it almost seemed like he's stealing.
Well, there's also, I mean, if you ever watched the horror film Phantasm, it
Yeah,
takes a lot from this as well. The dark.
yeah.
Oh,
You're right. The
all
old
that kind
man.
of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there seems to be a lot of,
It seems like it set the stage for a lot of what was later to come. It did. And then when the movie came out in 1983, you could see, how that changed because I still say, a lot of stories came, and I think it was because of the way this novel was, because it opened up a whole door for all kinds of new stories like this, because a lot of stuff follows.
But I also think that Ray Bradbury took this from the circs of Dr. Lau as well. There's bits
I
of,
was thinking of that too. So, okay, Dr. Lau came first, right?
yeah, Dr. Lau came in the
Because
20.
I was thinking about that as well. It's just like, I mean, it's like it was like a culmination of so many, because we've probably watched and read just about every story or movie associated, that we could say has some kind of inspiration from this book.
But
So I mean, it's
I
really
think
easy
his
to
writing
pile
style
on.
has been taken by people like Clyde Barker's writing style is a little bit like this. If you ever
What was
read
the one? Clive Barker wrote a story that was kind of the same.
Weed World's a bit like this.
Yeah, but there was another one. I can't remember the name of it.
Great and Secret Show. And I mean, but if you read like Galileo, The Great and Secret Show, Cabal's a bit more straightforward.
Yeah.
Nation Game. If you read those books, there's a lot of metaphor and a lot of painting going on in the background to prevent his stories. That's the reason why his books are always like 900 pages plus.
Well,
So
Well, I'd say it's R.L. Stein. I would say R.L. Stein was influenced heavily.
yeah,
Maybe Neil Gaiman.
yeah. Neil Gaiman's books are a lot like this. If you read The Sandman or American Gods,
Yeah.
there's a there's a lot of uh, writing styles. You can tell they're influenced by this, and there.
Yeah, you could tell.
I mean, this is the first time reading this. I read Dandelion Wine before. I haven't read a lot of Ray Bradbury. I kind of want to read a little bit more, only because he is who he is situation. He's one of these names like Isaac Ustinov. You see
Right.
his name all the time, but yeah, I've never actually read any of his stuff.
He's really great author. I mean, I love his short stories and stuff. This one, the prose was having such a hard time with all the metaphors, though. I mean, it's slowing me down for some reason. Usually I don't have that much of a problem, but it was just a lot of description, I guess. I mean, it was great that he did it, but I mean, it's just 2 13-year-olds. Chill just a little bit. The metaphors. That's all. The only gripe I got with it.
I mean, I have seen films based on his work, like The Illustrated Man, and Fahrenheit 4 is a odd little movie. But we had to read the book in school, so I guess I
Yeah.
have read it before. But I have to sit there and say that that book is more about censorship. So you're learning more about censorship and the burning of books and all the other stuff. So obviously
Right.
that Fahrenheit is basically about the McCarthy era anyway, kind of done in a futuristic way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Kind of Logan Runish.
yeah, but it's kind of weird because you have this book, but then you also look at Shirley Jackson stuff, and Shirley
Yeah.
Jackson is doesn't have as much detail in her books.
I was gonna say Shirley Jackson is definitely an easier read.
Well,
Definitely an
well,
easier
there's not a lot of detail in her books. You have to kind of fill in the space where he doesn't let you fill in the space. He kind of
at
gives you.
all. No, that's the problem. I love that he's really detailed, but I mean, you need your imagination when you're reading a book about adventure.
But
So,
saying that, once I finished, I mean, it gave me a lot of, it's like when I close my eyes and think about it, I had this huge painted picture of this town in that time period and the people and everything like that. And it does stay with you once you're done with it.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was kind of thinking more like Salem's Lot, you know?
Well, I mean, talk about someone who overwrites. I mean, Stephen King.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he didn't know because he was probably hammered when he wrote those.
Well, look at I mean, I read The Stand twice. I read the first version,
You read it
and I
twice?
read the unedited version.
I couldn't. I never knew.
It
I
had
thought
another
the edit.
300 pages added
I
onto it.
read the. I read the abridged edition, and that was plenty for me.
So,
That took me forever to read that book. I mean, literally forever to read that book. I
I
think
mean,
at one time I put it down for like a month because I couldn't take it anymore. And then I
well,
finally went back and I finished reading it. It was just that big. It was big.
well, the problem with The Stand basically is that the first half is fantastic, and then they get to Boulder.
He doesn't know how to finish the end of it for some
He
reason.
doesn't. I mean, he's like a Bloomhouse horror film. He doesn't know how to do an ending.
There you go. That's a good analogy. There you go. Yeah.
I mean, what I did like about this is, you know, is what the people don't want riches or anything like that.
They
They
just want to
want
be
like,
younger.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Pretty.
that's kind of, I mean, that's what's quite dangerous about Mr. Dark is that it's, you know, it's not about like superficial.
Doctor Sleep. This had Doctor Sleep all over it too.
Yeah. But it's not about like superficial things. This is about like people really real deep insecurities, and he sells them at a price.
I
Like,
know.
you know,
Yeah.
this is not like, oh, I want to be like. This is like, I don't want to get old. I don't, I'm
Well, like the father, he doesn't think that good enough for his son. Okay, I mean, maybe the movie answered this because I didn't get this out of the book, and I was hoping one of y'all could tell me. In the movie, I know. I mean, I'm confused. I know we'll head to the movie, but in the book, when he was going through all that to where he thought he wanted to be younger or whatever, follow Mr. Dark, is he actually get his heart cured? Is he cured by accident?
No, basically what happens is that at the end, basically they go through the mirror maze, and
Right,
they kill Mr. Dark.
right,
With a smile and a bullet, which is not quite sure if he actually does die because everything kind of fades.
right. I take it as he doesn't,
But they bring Jim back by singing, dancing, and laughing, which happiness brings him back from the edge of death. Which, if you look at, when you're laughing, singing, and dancing, basically, if you're that kind of person, that keeps you joyful at heart, which keeps you young at heart.
ah, okay. I didn't get that, but okay, that worked.
And that's what I quite liked about the story. By the end of it, it's like, cure for him getting older wasn't about the lines on his face. It's about making your heart young. If you keep your heart young, you'll always be young. If
Right.
you start killing off yourself by being depressed and stressed and all the other stuff, and you don't find the happiness in life, and then the joy of life, then you're gonna die an old person. But
Yeah.
if you keep that, you can die a young person at the age of 100 and something,
Mm-hmm.
and still be young. I mean, it's a bit like I've taught. I know people who are, you know, in their 60s, and it's like they're in their 20s and 30s. I know people in their 30s and they're like they're close. It's like hanging around death.
People do age differently, don't they?
But the thing is, if you keep young and you keep vibrant, but you know what I mean, and keep joyful, and don't let life.
Get
Uh,
down.
well, the thing is like you know, whatever troubles you're having and stuff like that. Yeah, we all have troubles, we all have tribulations, and all the other stuff. But if you sit there and just live for that, and that's all you think about over and over and over again, and forget about the other stuff, the good stuff, then that will age you. That will make you depressed. That will make you live in a life that's kind of just dark all around you.
Well, basically, Mr. Dark's quick fix isn't the way to go.
No, because you know, if you want to be younger, then you got to just be younger at heart. Really.
Pretty well, that's pretty much the life lesson of the story, isn't it?
Yeah. You know.
I mean, it wasn't without its cautionary tale and life lessons.
Yeah. And I mean, what makes the book a little bit more relevant today is that, especially like we are such involved in a youth culture now, as far as everyone wants to look young. But the problem with this, whether you know, what doesn't matter what reality program you're watching, or whether it's Real Housewives, The Bachelor, or whatever, they all look young on the outside, but they're all bitter and twisted on the inside.
I know.
I was
Like
watching the show because it was stormy here. So I just binge watched this show called Real Men of West Hollywood or something like that.
Heard of that? I haven't seen it.
To each other. I mean, and it's like they're nice looking, and then they open their mouth and they just become ugly and violent.
Kind of detracts from the whole thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you're just thinking to yourself, is like, and then
Are these guys being like this?
Oh yeah, they're just vile. I mean, it had the human Ken doll. He's one of the cast members on
The
it.
human Ken doll.
So, but you look
really
at
interesting.
they're all like in like their scrotums like Botox, and so their balls, their balls.
Said what? You can do that?
Yeah, apparently they do.
You can Botox your scrotum?
Yeah. They're spending like thousands of dollars on, thinking like,
why would anybody Botox their scrotum? I guess people get up close and personal.
I guess. I don't know.
I've never noticed anybody's wrinkly scrotum back in the day, quite personally.
Well, I'm just thinking to myself, is like, instead of paying £1,000 getting your scrotum done, why don't you just do something and get your personality fixed? You know what I mean? It's like, just get
Well, some people, the only thing they have is that,
all that money and a non-wrinkly scrotum, and they're still unhappy. I'm telling you.
They could have gone for psychotherapy and became a better person.
Well, going back to what you were saying, it was really interesting what you said, because
doesn't want to talk about scrotums anymore.
Well, there's not much to talk about that.
I'm just fucking with you, Leandro. Go ahead.
This could be go really wicked, so let's go back to where we were.
Anyway. Yeah, I didn't start it. He did.
Yeah, no, you didn't start. about what Keith said about like being young or feeling young.
That seemed to be what everybody wanted. Was there?
I think that is. I'm going to tell you something that happened. When I was on holidays, I was walking with my friend around. She said, "Oh, look those kids. Probably they're like 16, 17 years old. They're drinking." And I said, "No, erase that thought from your mind, because that means that you're getting old." And said, "Well, yeah, but that I said, look, when you were 17, 18 years old, were you not drinking a beer with your friends in the street? Yes, well, that's the same. The thing is that now we are older, and then probably we wouldn't do that. We would prefer
get off my lawn."
But there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that for me, those are the thoughts that okay, you grow out and you change your point of view. But those things, when you start to think
it's so easy too. Yeah, it's so easy. I've noticed that, and it's like I've had to catch myself so many times. It's just like, no, don't think that way. Stop right now. So you're right. You're right.
Well, I think that being able to realize. I mean, I don't have those thoughts. I mean, I don't care if someone is drinking or any age. But I thought
that happen. It
Some
really
people
does.
are really like structured, I say, oh no, I should behave like a person of my age, and I think that's not
Well, I think what
really
I'm I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna become an enigma.
okay.
Inside, I'm gonna be young in heart, but on the outside, I'll be on my couch yelling at people as they're driving as they're going up by my house. Get out my yard, you stupid bastard! I remember going to school barefoot, 10 miles in the frozen snow.
But the thing is, though, we actually did walk in 5 feet of snow to school. We aren't lying about where we went to school because we actually did. So yeah,
Mhm.
that is not
I
a free
lived in a
pass.
time where you had to stay home for a phone call.
What was it like Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino? That is like the ultimate in old man movie right there.
No, but yeah, I mean, I think the book teaches a lot. I can understand why it's critically, it's won a lot of critical awards and stuff like
It
that.
did.
And I do think that's probably helped because of the prose that kind of gives it that pretension for critics awards.
Didn't he used to have the Ray Bradbury Theater back in the day? Wasn't there a
Yeah,
show?
yeah, I mean, he wrote a lot of short stories and stuff like that. I mean, if you watch The Illustrated Man, the film, which is like an anthology, it's like an anthology movie, but it has a lot of his shorts, all his short stories are kind of like on the tattoos of this man.
Who wrote Omega Man?
Omega Man, I don't know who wrote that, but he wrote The Illustrated Man.
Right,
The guy with all the tattoos, and he's
right, right.
I mean, it's a what late 60s, early 70s kind of. It came out around the same time as Omega Man, and
Probably 1966, 67, around there.
yeah,
Sounds
the
about right.
Soylent Green and all that
Oh yeah, yeah. That's late 60s.
around that time.
Yeah.
So
Soylent Green. That is such a fucked up movie.
it's been a people. It's been a people.
I mean, the only person that could have pulled that off was Charlton Heston. I'm just
Yeah, you know, I mean, he's got two classic lines, isn't it? It's made of people, and get your hands off me, you dirty ape.
I'd be damn
Charlton
dirty,
Heston's
eh?
all time, all time.
I know he wasn't supposed to talk, and of course he has to use profanity with the apes. First out of the chute. Yeah.
And the best scene after he says that, you see Zero going, oh,
Yeah.
I love it.
I love that movie.
Floating. Let's rate the book Something Wicked This Way Comes. Starting with you, Leandro. How many stars do you give this?
4.
And yourself, Vix?
I'm going to give it 4, only because of the prose. I mean, I started it late. If I had more time, I probably would have enjoyed it more, though. You got to give yourself time to this one.
I'm going to give it 5 for overall book, but 4 for readability. I think if it had a little
That's a good score. It's a great book. Awesome.
it's a great book. I think it's a very important book because I think that, but at the same time,
No, it isn't. It had a lot of influence on other authors.
I just kind of wish it wasn't as overwritten. That's all.
Yeah, kind of a little bit.
I think you could get rid of like every fourth word, and then you would have a.
It's just I hate to say too descriptive in any novel. It's like a little bit.
Well, to me, it just feels like he wanted to win awards, so he wrote it like this.
Maybe. Well, I didn't think of
but
that.
I'm saying it has that kind of feel to it because if you read it, the other stuff that it's not written this way, and then you look at this book, and this book has won a lot of awards.
Yeah, but Ray Bradbury wasn't short on winning awards, you know?
Yeah, but this one, I mean, he was winning science fiction awards. This one, he won other kind of awards. It's a bit like, it kind of reminds me of an actor who's chasing after an Oscar. It's like,
that makes sense.
you get like your Will Smith movies, Independence Day, and it's like, oh, now he's playing Muhammad Ali, or you get Tom Cruise playing all these, and like now he's playing Vietnam War vet.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. It's like, oh, I'm chasing after an Oscar. So it has that. So it does have that slight feel about it to a certain degree. And this brings us to Something Wicked This Way Comes, which is a 1983 American dark fantasy film directed by Jack Clayton, who also directed The Innocents, and produced by Walt Disney Productions from a screenplay written by Ray Bradbury based on his 1962 novel the same name. It stars Jason Robards, Jonathan Pryce, Diane Ladd, and Pam Grier. It was filmed in Vermont and at the Walt Disney Studios in Burbank, California. It had a troubled production. Clayton fell out with Bradbury over an uncredited script rewrite, and after test screenings of the director's cut, failed to meet the studio's expectations. Disney sidelined Clayton, fired the original editor, scrapped the original score, delayed the film by 5 months, spent $4 million on the new changes, and spent many months reshooting, re-editing, and rescoring the film before its eventual release. What we're going to do is cut to the film trailer of Something Wicked This Way Comes and be right back.
Hellfire storms are coming, an electric storm to clean your streets and wash away your trouble.
For every heart, there exists a wish.
You ever play the numbers, Mr. Holloway?
Hey, never take risks.
For every soul, there burns a desire.
Boy, here's up.
Always was. Smells to me like we're gonna have visitors.
But never whisper your dreams, for someone might be listening. And for every wish, there will be a price. For every desire, there will be a cost. $3:00. They call it the soul's midnight.
My name is Mr. Dark. I advise you to respect it.
Dad, please be careful.
Will.
These boys I'm looking for. Perhaps you know them?
Fine boy, fine. Both of them quite a credit to this little town, if you want to know the truth.
I do want to know the truth, sir. And the truth is that you are lying.
I am pricking up my thumb. Something wicked this way comes.
Then rang the bells both loud and deep. God is not dead, nor doth he sleep.
Where do you come from? The dust. Where do you go to? The grave.
Yes. We are the hungry ones. Your torments call us like dogs in the night. And we do feed. And feed well. Tell me where the boys are hiding. And I can make you young again.
Ray Bradbury's fantasy tale of light and darkness is getting closer. Something wicked this way comes.
Hello, welcome back to the Literary License Podcast, and we're discussing Something Wicked This Way Comes, the Disney film. So, Vic...
And you froze on me. Yeah, there you are. You froze again.
Oh.
You froze on me. Okay. Oh. So what do I think about this movie? I love this movie, even though I had to watch a poor quality version of it to refresh my memory because there are no versions of this movie anywhere. So buy the CD like our buddy Joe tells us all the time because you will not find this movie anywhere. I love Jason Robards in this movie. I think he was a great pick for the father. I think, oh gosh, what's his name? Price? What's his first name? Price for God, Mr. Dark.
Jonathan Pryce.
Jonathan Pryce. Yeah, I don't know why, but forever I always think Mick Fleet. He looks like Mick Fleetwood in this movie. He's always going to be Mick Fleetwood from Fleetwood Mac. I don't know why I keep thinking of Mick Fleetwood, but just look him up. He looks just like it, and he did such a remarkable job in this. I mean, there's probably a lot of production and continuity issues with this, but the story's just really great. I mean, you got it's sort of like Stand By Me meets, it kind of sort of. I mean, you got the 3 o'clock in the morning, of course. These people roll into town and they want to give you your youth or whatever. The teacher wants to be young. The father thinks he's too old to be, the father he wants to be. Everybody's got something lackluster in their life they want to replace or improve or whatever. But this clearly is probably not the group of people to do it. Reminds me a lot of Dr. Sleep, how they roll into town, but
Yeah.
they're stealing, the essence of people's souls. But it's kind of the same thing. Dr. Sleep and this is God, they're just so alike in a lot of ways. It's not even funny. But I really thought it was a really good film, and I think it pioneered, inspiration to a lot of other films to come down the pike. I really like it a lot.
I really like the film. I like the dark quality of it. I like the whimsical, when you're young kind of feel of it, and then the circus kind of comes down.
Yeah, it's a scary movie, but it's not really scary, kind of sort of. But the whole family can watch it, and it still gives you a good chill. I'm thinking that maybe back then, I think that the Watchers, they were going to do the Watchers a year later. I actually think that Walt Disney died just prior to this, and I think Disney is having a hard time getting their sea legs back. I wish they would have continued down this route with more movies like this.
Well, I think, to be honest, they went from a more darker tone. We got in 1980 in the 1980s, late 70s and 80s. We kind of went away from Freaky Friday and the Jodie Foster Candle Shoes and stuff like this, and then we got the Black Cauldron, the Black Hole. Something Wicked This Way Comes. I mean, of course, we had Pete's Dragon a couple years before this, which was kind of whimsical. And
well, we also have the advent of all these scary movies and slasher flicks coming out in the 80s, which they knew they had to compete with. But this was a good way of doing it. It was still scary.
And we also had like Watcher in the Woods come out the year later.
Watcher in the Woods, yeah.
And to be honest, I quite liked this brand of Disney at the time.
So did I.
But they do have problems with them, because the reason why they have problems is that because Disney didn't quite know what they wanted. And the thing is, they would sort this out.
Because Walt just died. Seriously, they didn't know what the fuck to do.
Well, another thing is that Walt Disney's name was kind of, people didn't want to go see Disney wholesome films at this time anyway. And what happened was,
right.
And another thing is, and these are darker films. I mean, they were kind of rated PG at the time. Black Cauldron
was a G movie, wasn't it?
Was PG.
Is it PG? I thought it was
at the time it came out. I mean, nowadays it'd be G, but at the time it came out, it was PG. So, and you got the Black Hole was PG. Black Cauldron was PG. Watcher in the Woods was PG.
Was the Black Hole? We had Black Hole was PG. Yeah, that's right.
And so what you have is Disney trying to find its step within 80s America. So but the problem basically is if they went full fledged in that direction, I think the output, the Black Cauldron has problems because it got re-edited. Watcher in the Woods got re-edited and reshot. This did as well, the Black Hole. And if they put a lot more faith in what they had without doing all the recuts and stuff like this film, it's really good, would probably have been an exceptional, fantastic film. Because,
I thought it was exceptional. It just didn't do well.
I think it's good. But when you read about all the cuts and all the reshoots,
oh yeah, it was a shit show completely. I mean, it really was.
I mean, $4 million of reshoots, and and you look at the director that they had. The director is has directed some of the most fantastic films of our time. Jack Clayton directed The Innocents. He directed Room at the Top. He directed The Great Gatsby. The Lonely Passions of Judith Hearn. I mean, this is a guy who's directed some of the greatest films of Hollywood. And if they left him alone, I think we got a good film, but we would have had a great film. A film that basically would have been like on Hollywood's top 100 films. I mean, it's still a good film. I mean, all the performances are good. I think there's a good attention and detail, the essence of the novels in there. But, if you look at something that's been recut and re-edited and rewritten so many times after it was already filmed, I think that there's a little bit of a disconnect in the film for me. So what are your thoughts, Leandro?
Well, I Well, first, the quality of the movie that I found was really, really bad. Bad. Like, for moments, it was looking like they were like a drawing, like when the picture was not really good. The the visual effects, I think they were really good, and the actor, they was decent. I like it, but I found it a bit. I couldn't understand properly when they were talking. It was not for me clear. What, like, I need to really be concentrated on what they were saying, and I found it. Maybe it's me. I don't know that some things
Some
were.
of it was a little convoluted.
Yeah, and the things were happening like in a different order than in the book.
Yeah.
When I have to say, well, hold on. When I start to watch
Wasn't it a Ferris wheel in the book and not carousel? I can't remember now.
well, I think in what I
Black Ferris wheel.
yeah, it was like a wheel of movie with chairs. I think. But I don't know. That's why I got a bit confused. I was trying to pay attention, but it was hard. And the movie started, I always in my mind I start to like kind of say, okay, let's see if this happened in the book as it happened in the movie, as it happened in the book. And the first maybe 5-10 minutes I thought, well, hold on, this is I can okay. And then I thought, okay, now when the movie started, because I could see when the man who was selling the thing to put in the roof, I can't remember the name, to catch the storm electricity, the lighting. And
Lightning rod.
yes, and I enjoyed, but as you said, it was for me a okay movie, but not great.
I mean, there are scenes that have been cut out of this movie, and when you read about what was cut out,
Okay.
Did they ever have a director's cut?
well, that's what I'm kind of wondering. Maybe they pulled it out, and maybe they found all the missing footage. Because when you read about this missing footage, you know, they removed several major special effects scenes and incorporating new material directed by visual effects artist Lee Dyer, including a new prologue narrated by Arthur Hill.
He did another movie. What other movies did he do the special effects to? Oh my God, it's gonna drive me nuts.
Mhm. But among the Cloudleys was a groundbreaking animation scene, which would have been one of the first major uses of CGI in Hollywood.
That's right. That's right. I did
Combining
see
the
that.
then new technology of CGI with traditional animation. It depicted dark circus train rolling into town and the carnival magically materializing, the smoke from the locomotive becoming the ropes in the tent, the tree limbs merging to form a Ferris wheel, and the spider web morphing into a wheel of fortune. The lead scene was previewed in details in May. Another cut scene depicted Mr. Dark using his sinister powers to send a huge disembodied hand to reach into the house to grab the boys. But this scene was replaced by the room being invaded by hundreds of tarantulas.
Yeah.
I remember the tarantulas, but
Yeah.
oh, is that what they replaced it with?
Yeah. So
I would have liked the other.
yeah, I mean the thing is but I do probably thought that probably the ham was too frightening. Maybe the train coming in the town and the spider web forming and all this other stuff might have been too frightening for kids, because I think that's probably
Yeah.
and I do think that's probably what we have here, is that they have a little bit of fear when it comes to what's a family film and what's an adult. And of course, Disney would change this. What they would have is Touchstone. They started Touchstone.
Oh, there is one. There's a Blu-ray release.
So that's what's happening. So that
from
sounds
last year. I don't know if it's still out, but it says what is included. They added the deleted scenes, altering the sequence scenes, changing the soundtrack. They added all of that back in.
Okay.
So
Wow, I gotta find this now.
You want to watch it?
So I think that's probably the reason why it's hard to find, because normally if a new DVD or Blu-rays are coming out and Disney's gonna do something with it, they pull out the original and then they bring out the new release of it. So, and that will be like
I wish they would have given you the option, though. Like you just like, come on, man, don't take that. I mean, that sounds great. I would like to see that the animated where the circus pulls up. I would really like to see that.
But it sounds like, I mean, Disney did the same thing with, we covered the Black Cauldron last month. And the Black Cauldron, they cut out all this huge edit. They brought somebody else in who
Right.
did the whole film. And I think it's a good film. And then you kind of get like this great big ending that should be fantastic. And you kind of got a good ending, but you don't have like the animation and the ghouls coming out and all the other stuff that was supposed to happen. So you don't have, and unfortunately it seems like, and something Wicked This Way has that as well. You also get it in Watcher in the Woods. When you see Watcher in the Woods, which is another fantastic film in its own right for
That would
Disney.
have been a good companion too.
But that was they reshot the whole ending. So you got an ending that it's okay, but sometimes there's a disconnect with what this new person's coming in.
I mean, I was like, who suggests this? I mean, they just totally fuck themselves sometimes when they do this. And it's just like, why?
I think it's being scared because it's like, we are the Snow White. We're the Snow White. We're Gus, the football kicking mule. We are Freaky Friday. We're Parent Trap.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
people look at us for family friendly. And then when they realize that family friendly doesn't happen, and it's like, oh, we need to be darker. Oh no, we're going too dark. And we're going to lose our family audience.
What is the darkest movie they've made? I'm trying to think of what is dark.
Well, this is dark.
Well, this is really dark, but I'm trying to think of something. I guess can't think of Maleficent's dark. I guess that's dark.
Yeah, I was thinking the same. But what I like about Maleficent,
but I love Maleficent though.
I love it because
scare me. I just love watching it.
I love it because okay, you have heard one story. Let's see the story that you never heard.
I mean, but what Disney did though is that they opened different studios to release different movies.
That's true. That's right.
Well, Disney stayed with their animation department with Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast. They had Touchstone Films, which did, all the Bette Midler stuff that was coming out, the comedies, Splash.
That's right. I totally forgot about those.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
What was that? Something People with Bette Midler and Judd Reinhold.
Ruthless People.
Oh my God, I love that movie. Don't ask me why. I love that.
Beaches, all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, if they wanted to go more adult, more art house, Miramax, which was all the Quentin Tarantino films and all the.
Okay, so they just hit it into a different company. Okay.
Yeah, so they're still under Walt Disney, but they were able to okay, if it's PG, it's Touchstone. If it's R, it's Miramax. If it's G-rated and family friendly, it's just Walt Disney Pictures. So
that makes sense.
So I do think that if they did this Touchstone, and they did that around, I think about 84, 85 when this happened. So if they did that in the early 1980s, then Watcher in the Woods, this Black Cauldron, and the Black Hole would all come under Touchstone, and nothing probably would have been cut.
Wow, yeah, you're probably right about that. That's wild.
But saying that, it is a good film.
It is a good film.
But I just think it probably could have been a great film.
Oh, it could have been better. I just love the whole premise of the film. I wish out of all the reboots, if they could just resurrect Jason Robards and bring him back, because I thought he was perfect as the father. Perfect casting for Jason Robards. I would love to see this one redone in its true entirety.
And it was great seeing Pam Grier in a Disney film.
Yeah, what was she, the Dust Witch, or what was she called?
Yeah,
the Dust Witch.
Yeah, I mean, she would go on to be Jackie Brown, wouldn't she? Of course, in the Black Exploitation films of the 70s.
I always like seeing her come out in movies and stuff. I like seeing her every so often. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a good representation of the book. I bought a copy, and I have a DVD of it that I bought years ago when Disney was releasing all their stuff on DVD. And I got that. I got Watcher in the Woods. I got that. Peach Dragon, all that kind of stuff that's coming out on Black Cauldron and the Black Hole. Black Hole's got a lot of problems with it as well. But I do watch them, and then the good thing about it, there are documentaries about the missing stuff and what happened. But what I find is quite a shame is this, as I was saying earlier, this was directed by Jack Clayton, and Jack Clayton made The Innocents with Deborah Carr.
Yeah, but that was a very good film, though, as we both know.
But if you look at his I mean, he made some of the greatest films of Hollywood. And if they left his vision alone, this probably would have been the greatest movies of all time lists.
Yeah.
So, but it did win awards. It did win, some science fiction awards and some little awards. So it did win awards, and everyone's in it's fantastic. I can't fault anyone in it. It has a good look to it. I enjoyed it, but I do often wonder what would it have been like if they left it alone. There's that with it, I think.
I wonder that about every movie. What would it have been like if they just left it alone? There's
Now,
so many things that they could just done with this. I mean, there's always room for improvement. I really love the premise of this film, though. I do.
Yeah, I think
Disney would have explored more options like this.
Well, I think that if we weren't doing this show and I didn't do research on it, because when I saw this movie, I really, really liked it in the 80s. But now that of course,
now that we're spoiled, everything we're spoiled to with our older eyes, yeah.
Well, another thing is that now that when we do our research and you realize that what it could have been, it kind of makes things sour a little bit than just watching it. So
I didn't know they cut it to shreds like that, though. I knew there was a lot of problems with it, but I didn't know they went to that extent to totally mutilate it.
$4 million.
I really love the premise of the film. I would really like to see do something with this. I would. I really would.
$4 million worth of reshoots. It's like, Jesus.
I know, but why? I mean, really, did it really make a difference?
Well, I mean, they had to do new special effects and everything like that. Like the tarantulas probably cost a bomb.
I would like to see what that CGI thing was about. Probably after we get done, I'm going to be looking for it because that's going to be an anal retentive when it comes to that. I want to see what that looks like because I really do love this movie, but I really would like to see what that would have looked like. What would have been the problem just to add that? I don't understand.
Yeah, I do think they probably thought it was too scary.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, how much more scary could it be than Snow White's evil queen? Or I mean, just all like Cruella de Vil. I mean, she wants to kill puppies for crying out loud.
Yeah, but then again, I mean, I don't think that Disney really dealt with like test audiences. By this time, they're doing tests because they were losing money as well. So
yeah,
and as
that was a tough time for a lot of movie houses back in the day, though.
Well, the 70s was very realistic, gritty, dirty, filmmaking, and and I think that Disney was like, well, how do we compete with this? Well, we need to get darker, but not that dark, that kind of thing. It's a bit like Tootsie. When you watch Tootsie, and they're and Dustin Hoffman's playing Dorothy Michaels, and they go, do a zoom in, not that close. It's a bit like that.
That was funny. That was a great movie, actually. I really enjoyed that movie. I haven't seen that in a long time, but I
have never seen it. I want to watch it.
You should watch it.
It's a great movie, Leandro. You'd love it. It's really quite fun.
I think it's on one of the streaming things anyway.
I get a kick out of it when the pervert actor on there when they're doing the soap opera comes up and kisses. He's got hots for Dustin Hoffman and he kisses him on the mouth. And you just get that profile.
Well, that was Gina Davis's first film as well because she's there.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, and Jessica Lange, I think that's like her third movie.
It was one of Jessica Lange's. She was good in that. She was quite good. I've always loved her though.
Terry Garr's in it, and
Terry Garr. Oh my God, whatever happened to her?
Oh no, she pops up every once in a while with somebody's grandmother now. Normally on a sitcom or something, and then Bill Murray's like uncredited in it.
Oh wow, is he really?
Because he's his house. He's Dustin Hoffman's flatmate.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God, I totally.
He's uncredited because they didn't want to credit him because they thought that they would lower the tone of the movie.
I don't understand how that's possible, but okay.
Well, 1982, I guess he probably would in 1982 because he was known as like doing like stripes and things like that. So they probably,
I guess he had made his
here's the Dustin Hoffman movie that they wanted to chase Oscars with.
Well, maybe consider, but it was Saturday Night Live, and he had you don't know about that. I mean, they made Ghostbusters 2 years later. I guess he probably clearly wouldn't get to. Well, Stripes was a seriously lovely movie.
But I think Bill Murray's now considered a serious actor, but
back then he wasn't probably.
Yeah, so that's probably what it is. So.
It always cracks me up every time I see when he shows up in What's that zombie apocalypse movie with Woody Harrelson? What is that called? God, that's gonna make me nuts.
Oh, Zombieland.
Zombieland. It cracks me up when he ends up in there. Bill Murray as himself in Zombieland, and they end up killing him by accident. It's like, God damn, you live in a zombie apocalypse and you kill Bill Murray by accident.
So I guess we should rate Something Wicked This Way Comes. So, Vix, how many stars do you give this movie?
I'm going to give it a 4, but I still love it. I really, really probably going to try to seek out a director's cut of it because that would explain a lot why it kind of bombed at the box office if they really, discombobulated it that much. But it's a great flick. I love it.
And what about yourself, Leandro?
3.
I think I'm going to give it a 4. I think it's a really good film. If you ever get a chance to see a clean version of it, it's filmed well and stuff like this. I kind of wanted something a bit more. I wish it was just a little bit more darker. And I wish that Disney didn't pull back. That's all. So
yeah, they could have got a little further.
Yeah. So. Well, this brings us to the end of the Literary License Podcast. Next week is Batman the Animated Series. We'll be covering 4 episodes, which include Batgirl Returns, Cold Comfort, Sins of the Father, and Double Talk. And, of course, 2-for-1 Dark Families films will be Paranorman from 2012 and Tim Burton's Frankenweenie from 2012. And our anthologies will be continuing with The Monster Club from 1981 and Company of Wolves from 1984. Doctor Who will be returning next month. And next month, July 2024, will be Around the World Month, where we'll be covering Book to Screen. Our Once Upon a Time will be Howl's Moving Castle, which is a 1986 English book made into the Japanese film from 2004 of the same name, Howl's Moving Castle. So it's good night for myself, and good night, Leandro.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Vix.
Good night, everybody.
And good night.
Do you feel it in the air? Everything is changing, a world wasted by fear. Everything is changing across, too great to bear. And I need some lumiere. Oh, fall down to your knees. Pray for sweet salvation as the gloaming slowly creeps. Comes while you are sleeping until nothing's what it seems. There's nothing left to believe. Oh, oh. Something wicked this way comes. Something wicked this way comes. It's been around since time begun, 1,000,000 times around the sun. Something wicked this way comes. Something wicked this way comes. Something wicked this way comes.